Welcome to my presentation on my scope of work of the interior development of the Naval Air Base in Milton, Florida. The purpose of this video is to give those watching an inside look on the interior scope of work and break it down step by step on what the job is going to entail. Throughout this video, I will be going over a brief project description, followed by other things such as project exclusions, project important dates, critical path, and other key items that I feel will be necessary in order for those watching this video to have a thorough understanding of what's going on. So, with that being said, it's time to move on to the very next slide. So a basic description of what this project is, it is basically a renovation on a naval air facility that is located in Milton, Florida. The projected due date is to start on June 2nd of 2014 and is to last 210 calendar days from that date. These calendar days exclude both holidays and weekends as well, and does not include any overtime that may or may not occur throughout the job or throughout the course of the project. So here you can see a basic layout of how the project / job is going to be. The purple magenta lines are indications as to how workers and employees will enter the job site, whereas the light green lines are indicators as to where the workers will exit the job site. At the very top of the screen or picture, you will see where the project site is actually located and how big it is compared to the rest of the base. Right below that, you see where employees and workers will be parking, and right below that, you see where the layout or the laydown, or where all materials and machinery will be stored on site. In this laydown area, though, there is an existing fence that will need to be removed in order for optimal use of the space that is provided, and that has been taken into consideration when we decided to place our laydown area there. So now that you have an understanding of where the project is, or a basic layout of what the job site and project layout is, here is just a basic rundown of all the inclusions of the interior design. So as you can see, you have the job to be done along with the name of the person in charge of that job. For example, acoustical systems is subcontracted by Zach Reed, casework is by Bryce Henry, sealing by Bill Kostrikin, and so on and so forth. So basically this slide is just giving an indication as to what the interior scope calls for and who is in charge for that particular part of the scope. So with all that being said, a couple exclusions for our scope of work include wiring for the lighting, insulation for the walls, plumbing for the casework, and any framing and outdoor lighting from the windows as well. So here you see a layout of our schedule. As you can see, a lot of the items on the schedule don't take long, taking anywhere from 2 to 3 days to complete. The items that are listed out in red are part of the critical path, while the items that are listed out in green are part of or have float days allotted to them. The amount of float is indicated by the black line that extends from the green bar. In order for our project to stay on task and keep on schedule, it's important that we as workers communicate effectively with each other to prevent from falling behind schedule, seeing as a lot of the items that we have depend on one another in order to get completed, because because most of them are a part of the critical path. And as you can see, as a project progresses, items are able to start at the same time, or multiple items are able to start at the same time, due to the fact that they no longer rely on it to be finished and are able to be and can start simultaneously and be finished at the same time as well. So after looking over this project, a couple key dates come to mind. The project starts on June 2nd and our scope of the project is to end on July 9th if all goes according to plan. Between that allotted time, The only holiday that comes up in mind is the 4th of July, Independence Day, which would be a non-work day. Every other day is considered a 5-day work week, 8-hour days, and weekends will be off as usual, or weekends will be considered non-work days as usual. With this project, it's safe to assume that it will start and end on the designated time. All, all funding and payments that are necessary for this job to come to fruition will be on time and readily available if necessary, or if need be. Any materials and crafts that are ordered from suppliers will arrive on time and be readily available, not causing any material delays. The previous trades that come before our interior work will be completed on time and not hold us up from finishing anything that we need to do. And if all goes well, no overtime will be necessary to get any of the work done and keep us on schedule. So now to go over some of the risks and opportunities that come with working interior development. The first thing that comes to mind is heat exhaustion. This project takes place during the summer months of June and July, or partially during the summer months of June and July. So even though we'll be working inside most of the time, it's still important to have proper water and hydration and shading for workers so that they don't get tired and start passing out and having or making mistakes due to mental error. The next big thing, materials delay, something that's easily avoidable with proper communication with the supplier, letting them know how much of the material you need, when you need it, and where you need it on the job site. That easily eliminates the risk of material delay. The next risk would be change orders, and this is something that's bound to happen regardless of what you do. And the only way to smoothly make it through this risk is to have good communication with the owner and keeping in constant contact with them so that any changes that do come to the project, you're readily able to adapt to the situation and make it work within the scope and the time frame of the project. Seeing as interiors is one of the later trades to come into this project, other trades such as core and shell are things that will, if they're delayed, then that will delay our product, or that will delay our piece of the products as well. And so in order to prevent something like that, as with the other two, it is important to have proper communication with them, seeing where they're at all times, and making sure that both you and them are communicating effectively so that you guys can get the product done on time and on schedule. Another big aspect is going over budget, and that is an easy fix by just, as I said before, staying on schedule at all time, making sure that your workers know the schedule and are staying on task, as well as just avoid improper expenditures. Not buying unnecessary things that aren't going to be of any use to you on the project. Just keeping to the core essentials that you have, making a list of those essentials, and sticking to that budget and not deviating from there. And falling behind schedule is another huge risk, because a lot of the things on our schedule are on the critical path. So if our trade lags too long, then it's easy for us to fall behind and put the project behind schedule. So the best way to avoid that sort of situation, as I said before, is just effective communication with the other workers on site, and making sure that they know the schedule, know of any change orders, and know of any delays or anything that may come up. Just making sure that everybody is aware of the situation so that you are able to stay on schedule and keep from putting the schedule behind. The only main issue and concern that I have with our project schedule is that the majority of the work falls on the critical path. What this means is that it's important that we keep on task and we don't fall behind schedule, because anything that we do could in turn put the entire project behind schedule as well. Other than that, I have no other main issues or concerns with our project. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my video, and I hope that you were informed in some way, shape, or form.